Hey friends, thanks for joining me today. My name is Caleb Cox, and as many of you know, and as I've interacted with on the survivalist forums, especially Bushcraft USA, you know I've long been an admirer of the much debated wilderness survival knife, the WSK, or the tracker. In my search to understand the function of every aspect of its design, and especially as an aspiring backyard bladesmith and blacksmith, I've collected as many photos and articles trying to document the evolution of this knife's design and its history. You know, from very humble beginnings to being a mass-produced household name by Tops. I want to show you a little bit of the evolution of the tracker knife. And this is according to the best of my knowledge and research. If you've got any other info, feel free to comment below. Now, in 1981, Rob Russin contacted Tom Brown Jr. about creating a survival knife for him. Rob Russin had read the book, The Tracker, by Tom Brown, and was really inspired by the idea of having one knife that could do it all. So in 81, he sent him an original prototype that was about 11 inches long, 1/8 of an inch thick, in D2 steel. And it had a very unique design and had a single row of saw teeth on the back. And Tom really liked the idea that Rob had for this design, and he marketed the blade in a magazine. Now, that blade that he showed in the magazine looked a lot like this. Had a very forward, heavy chopping portion, single row of saw teeth. This inner bevel right here was for using as a draw knife, and he marketed it as 1/4 of an inch thick. That way it could have the heft of chopping and also a balanced thrower with this point. Now, I made this knife. I did a rosewood handle on it. A friend of mine also made a copy of Tom Brown's original marketed design in the magazine with a micarta handle that would be indestructible. Well, Rob was ready to go into production, and Tom Brown decided to go a little bit different direction with a different maker, Ed Lomby, who went on to craft 11 iconic blades called the Medicine Blade. Here's my copy of the Medicine Blade. It still had just a single row of saw teeth right here, and the transition was a little bit more abrupt on Ed's original concept design as well. I've made a quarter round here to assist with better function of the knife. This version is 3/16 of an inch thick, and I think Ed's were 1/8 of an inch. This one still has a really interesting handle to blade transition right here, which I think aids in an iconic design. After the Medicine Blades were produced by Ed, Tom found a new maker, and his name was Dave Beck. And in 1988, Dave Beck was asked to take over making the tracker knives for Tom Brown Jr. and his survival schools. And Dave Beck worked on refining the concept of the knife. This is one of Dave's earlier tracker knives, numbered 40. And what Dave did was he extended a hollow ground inner grind, made a shorter chopping portion blade, still 1/4 inch thick, but what he did was added a double row of saw teeth to aid with notching. So too was a beefier handle design, which over the years, from 1988 to 1998, he refined the concept into what I think is the grail of most tracker knife collectors, and that would be this one, which resembles the movie knife, which I'm going to talk about shortly. And you can see the difference between the two It's just in terms of the handle refinement and the inner hollow grind refinement as well. Still the standard sawback. In 1991, the trademark of a tracker started to appear on all of Beck's knives. In 2002, Dave Beck and Tom Brown Jr. both asked to be part of Hollywood Motion Picture, Dave creating the blades and Tom adding his tracking expertise. This film, called The Hunted, was released in 2003, and many people who saw the movie were taken with the knife, and both Beck and Tom Brown Jr. were hounded to create more. A friend of mine in New Jersey made this version of the tracker knife, which is identical to the movie knife. Extended sawback, a more pointed version, incredible hollow grind, and all black. Another version of Beck's knife, less pointed, as you will see, with the Hunted movie kind, a more rounded hatchet portion here to aid in chopping. The handle offering 2 hand points, hold points, to assist in chopping and close-up work. After the movie, Tom Brown Jr. was contacted by Tops Knives, who offered to do a high production volume of the tracker knife. And Brown then went on to his 4th manufacturing partner, and Tops Knives, who for the last 16, 17 years have been marketing their knives to survivalists and knife enthusiasts. Tops offers 4 sizes of their tracker knife. I used to have a Tops T1, but sold that. I found it very bulky and heavy, and I wanted to do some modifications on it to just make it perform a little bit better. I think in and of itself, it is still, it's an okay knife. It'll get you through to do the tasks and process, wood and make curlies the way you can. But there are so many makers out there today, especially custom makers, who are excelling in bringing the best product to market right now. And I think what Tops ended up having to do, because it was a mass-produced product, they had to take shortcuts, especially with the saw teeth, which are square. They still notch well, but they're not as effective as a double row of saw teeth, which are time-consuming to do, which is why the knives end up costing so much more. Another friend of mine, also in New Jersey, gifted me this beautiful reproduction of a Beck knife. Incredible hollow ground, flawless saw teeth, desert iron wood scales. Incredible work. Another maker I'm very fond of in Brazil is Ariel. ACA, you can see his knives. He has recently started doing the Swiss sawback as well, and makes a very good, iconic version of the tracker knife, 1/4 inch thick, 5160 high carbon steel. I make knives as well. So here is one I made to emulate the movie, The Hunted design, and I made this one specifically for throwing. I didn't want to throw any of my high-end tracker knives at a tree and have it break. So this one, also forged from 5160, is the one I use in my throwing tracker videos. The most common knife pattern I make is this one, and it's my primitive tracker, 10 inches long, 1/4 of an inch thick, also 5160 high carbon steel. I try to do some patterns on the blade and sometimes the handle, just to give it an iconic look. I started doing this a number of years ago at the request of a customer, and then few dozen people actually requested over the next years that I emulate that first one. So this has kind of become my personal trademark knife. This is my personal one that I use out in the field the most. And not all trackers have to have sawbacks. Here's another one I made. Cocobolo scales, 3/16 inch thick, with no sawback, but a little more drop point design and elongated chopping edge. So those are some of the trackers from my stable. I've enjoyed researching the knife. It's what inspired me to become a bladesmith and got me into blacksmithing and got me actually into the world of bushcraft. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the collection and hearing some of the history. And if you've got any questions, feel free to comment below. Thanks.